Max Weber. He was a German theorist who first introduced the idea of a bureaucracy. Now, these days, bureaucracy gets a very bad rap. We think, oh, bureaucracy is going to take forever to get things done. There's a lot of red tape and procedures and rules that you have to follow, and it's just not a fun type of organization. We normally associate bureaucracy with government work and slowness. But back when the classical perspective was first born, people were getting jobs and getting promoted based upon who they knew and not based upon competency, and that was causing a lot of problems. Nepotism, or getting promoted based upon who you know, was a huge problem at the very beginnings of management. So the idea of having a set process in place where people were promoted based upon competency was a huge stride to make. And so bureaucracy at its foundation historically was actually a good thing for organizations. Now, it can run amok and we can get out of control with bureaucracy, but at its foundation, it really is a good idea. And if you look at figure 2.3, you see the 6 areas that Weber talked about when he talked about bureaucracy, and you probably will agree that most of these make a lot of sense. So the first one of those is that management needs to be separate from ownership. So it was the first idea that maybe we should have stockholders in the firm who actually own shares of stock in the firm but don't manage the organization. And of course that's still in existence today, and organizations even strive to become publicly held because there's so much prestige in having ownership separate from management. So that was an idea that was first initiated by Weber, so we have a lot to credit him for. The second idea is that decision making needs to be put in writing. Now we know that even today we talk about the email trail and how you need to document your work as you go along, so in case anything happens you can backtrack and make sure that you put things in writing. Not everything in writing, be careful what you put in writing, but in terms of professionalism and ensuring that you can look back at why you made certain decisions, who was informed of those decisions, so that you can protect yourself and protect the organization. Great idea. Wasn't being done before Max Weber came around. So putting things in writing, very, very important. A third thing is rules and procedures, so that everybody is following the same rules. A lot of fairness involved in this, and that even managers have to follow certain rules and procedures so that everybody knows what's expected of them, and when they're falling out of line. So another very important idea. Hierarchy of authority, that there is a chain of command. You report to one person and then that person reports to somebody else and so forth, so it moves up that hierarchy of authority. Another very important concept. It was introduced by Weber and a couple of other people around the same time, but Weber's bureaucracy organization is usually given the credit for that particular idea. Division of labor, so that everybody knows what they're tasked with. Still in existence today, still very important. Job descriptions are based upon division of labor. For example, I'm tasked with the division of labor of teaching 4 management classes every semester, doing advising, doing community and campus service. That's my piece of the pie at CBU. And the fellow in the office right next door to me has another piece of the pie, so I don't have to teach management and try to teach organic chemistry. That'd be a nightmare. So that all of the labor that has to be performed in an organization, in this case CBU, is divided, and everybody knows what they're responsible for. Very important concept. And then finally, having promotions based upon your technical expertise or your competency and not based upon your personality or who you know. And in fact, Weber's suggests that this is really why he wanted to even introduce the concept of a bureaucratic organization, because of that idea of nepotism that was so huge then, that people were getting promoted just because they knew somebody or people liked them, which is important, but it's not as important as being competent. So you saw during this time, still see it some today, but not as much, hopefully, but you saw during this time people being promoted based upon who they knew, what their personality was like, and so you had managers who really weren't competent for the job. So Weber, very important player in the evolution of management thought.